All rise. 22nd District Court is now in session. Honorable Judge Sabrina Johnson presiding.
Please be seated. This is case number 140717FC, People v. Raphael Hearn, and case number 140695FC, People v. Raymone. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. May it please the Court, Jamie Powell-Horowitz for the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. May it please this honorable court, Matthew Evans on behalf of Mr. Hearn.
Mr. Evans?
May it please the Court, Evan Callahan, on behalf of Raymone Jackson, Your Honor.
Mr. Callahan, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
We ready to proceed?
Yes.
We are, Your Honor. At this time, I would ask for an order of sequestration. I would ask for an exception for the officer in charge of the case, Sergeant Neil Donahue.
No
I'll join
objection.
that motion.
All right.
We do have a preliminary matter, though, Your Honor.
Okay, well, let's do sequestration. The court at this time is going to order sequestration of all witnesses who are going to testify either today or at a later hearing date. Counsel, I'll just ask you to take note of who's in the courtroom and ask those persons to step out until their testimony is needed.
Your Honor, I would also ask for an additional exception for the mother of the victim. Her name is Erica Gross. She was the mother of Kamaya Gross. Her testimony would consist of the identification of the baby in this case, and there is a stipulation to the identification today.
We have no objection.
No objection.
All right. We will grant that request as well as for the officer in charge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we have, so the record's clear, we have noted that there is nobody that we've asked to leave the court.
Very well. All right. And Mr. Evans, you mentioned a preliminary matter.
Yes, Your Honor. This time we are asking for a forensic examination for Mr. Hearn. Mr. Hearn is currently receiving mental health treatment at the Wayne County Jail. He is receiving several psychotropic medications there. Also, in the course of my interviewing him, I learned that he had also was receiving psychiatric treatment before and at the time of this incident. I also talked with his girlfriend who confirmed that. Also, during the course of my interview, I have severe reservations whether at this point in time he's competent and fully understands what these proceedings are to the point where he can assist in his defense, Your Honor. And so based upon all those factors, we would ask for that Mr. Hearn be referred to the Center for Forensic Psychology for an examination based on his custody. I did make the people aware of this request last Friday, so the court's aware of that.
All right. Mr. Evans, just so I'm clear, you said that he is currently taking psychotropic medications.
Yes.
What are they?
He's taking, he said, well, a handful, but I know two of them are Zoloft and Seroquel. There's a couple others that he wasn't able to use.
Were those medications prescribed previous to him being placed in custody?
That I don't know.
Okay. All right. Madam Prosecutor, what do you say?
Your Honor, obviously we would oppose a referral at this juncture. I think there's insufficient evidence at this time to refer the defendant for competency. There has to be a showing that he's incapable because of a mental condition of understanding the nature and object of the proceedings and unable to rationally assist in his defense. There's been no evidence other than a bald assertion that he's taking Seroquel and Zoloft, which many people are taking when they are housed in the Wayne County Jail. I did call the Wayne County Jail. We confirmed that the defendant is not housed in the mental health ward. The defendant has had two prior felony cases within the past 4 years. He was never referred for a mental health evaluation in either of those cases. Further, we know that the defendant is aware of what's going on. He has in fact tried to contact one of our witnesses who's going to be testifying today. I believe that this is a ploy to stall these proceedings, and I would ask the court to see through that ploy and to deny the referral at this point because there's insufficient evidence at this point for referral. But Mr. Evans is always free to ask for a referral when he has more evidence to put forth to the court at a later date.
Yeah, if I could, okay, first of all, okay, I practiced here for a number of years. And to say that this is a subterfuge is an insult, okay? And Your Honor, you and I have had tried cases before together, okay?
And I have the utmost respect for you.
Okay, so I would never do this, never come to court and make a bald assertion, okay? And this is highly unusual. In my career, I have never, ever had a prosecutor object to a forensic examination, okay? Especially in the point that he is getting treatment. Now, whether he's housed in the ward or not, that should be enough, at least at this juncture, okay? And if he's trying to make contact with somebody, okay, because he and I have met, he knows not to do that, obviously, he doesn't understand. And I would suggest, Your Honor, okay, that the court rule, it just has to be that the defendant may have a mental issue, not that we have any burden of proof at all. But I did supply proof to the prosecution that they were able to verify that he's being treated for mental health issues.
I haven't heard treatment, I've heard he's on some medication.
Well-
But is he seeing someone?
Well, at the time of his arrest, he was seeing some.
Who was he seeing?
Let me check my notes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can't speak in the courtroom at all.
He was going to a clinic called Adult Wellbeing in Romulus, Michigan.
Do you know how long he has been treated there?
2 months.
And if I may, Your Honor?
Yes.
There is a big difference between criminal responsibility and competency to assist at trial. If the court will note, the defendant is readily answering all of his counsel's question at the table today. So a criminal responsibility referral goes to a defense he may have further down the road. I don't think there's any issue with competency at this juncture.
Well, since you never talked to my client, I talked to my client. Okay, spent a lot of time, I've made 2 jail visits to him. I'm telling you, I am not confident to go forth that he fully understands. Okay?
Let me say this, my understanding is that a defendant is presumed competent unless there is some evidence that he is unaware of what the proceedings are, and secondarily, he's unable to assist his counsel in his defense. Are you saying to me that in your conversations with him, well, I'll let you say it. In your conversation with him, what is it that you believe
Yeah,
about his ability to understand what's going
Okay.
on?
Well, you know, as far as, I don't want to, we have attorney-client privilege
I
here.
understand.
Okay, so I'm trying to
But in order for this court
Well-
to grant your request, I need to know bona fide facts, something that lets me know that he is unable to assist you in his defense.
Yeah, I don't think that's the standard. Okay, it's that he can't be, it's not like he doesn't have to be drooling from the mouth.
Didn't say
Okay,
that.
okay.
But
Just,
if I-
but I guess what I'm telling you is that in answer to some of the questions of his background, of what his treatment was like, as far as what he was being treated for, because I asked him quite a bit of questions about that.
What is his disorder? Is it pain? Does he have a named disorder?
Well, let me dig out my interview notes, Your Honor.
Because I am not persuaded by the fact that he's on psychotropic medication, that that's the standard. Nor am I persuaded by the fact that he was seeing someone as the standard. Is there evidence of behaviors
Well, I guess,
that you've seen in your consultation with him that makes you believe that he is not
Yes.
competent or does not understand the nature of these proceedings or is not able to assist in his defense?
yes, as far as I challenged, as far as some of the things that, as far as his memory, how he was able to comprehend some of the proceedings that were going, that I tried to explain to him, as far as not only this proceeding, but future proceedings, about what certain facts of the case, again, not to breach his attorney-client privilege, but just some of his responses just led me to believe that he doesn't fully understand. Okay, he can partially understand. Everybody partially understand. That's not the standard. He's got to be able to fully understand. And I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not,
But given your years of experience and talking to the number of clients I'm sure you've spoken with,
I have, and I have had clients that And based upon my years of experience, I am not satisfied at this point in time that he has a full understanding of what is going on, and without that full understanding, he can't effectively help in his defense, okay? And I've never, and to be honest with you, I mean, I've never had anybody ever challenge, it's a professional challenge to me, because obviously, I think that I have gotten judges normally, okay, with a lot less information I've given you, grant these types of adjournments, okay? And
I want to make a record,
well, I want to make a,
and I want you to make a record.
okay. And the thing is that whether he, if he he's being treated. If you're reading, I mean, treatment is not, if you're getting medication from a medical doctor, my definition, you're getting treated. Okay. And whether he's, whether he's on the psych area or not, that doesn't mean they can treat him anywhere. Okay. But I think with a combination of those things, and what I'm telling you from the interviews I've had with my client, I'm not comfortable proceeding with a preliminary examination in his current mental state.
Madam Prosecutor, any response?
Your Honor, I think that these are still very vague assertions that counsel is making regarding the competency of his client. His concerns address whether or not the defendant may or may not be criminally responsible simply because he is receiving anti-anxiety medications in the jail. Well, he is being housed for the murder of a child. I would imagine that would bring on some anxiety that you may need to take some anti-anxiety medication for. There's absolutely nothing on this record to state that the defendant is incompetent and unable to rationally assist in his defense. And again, this isn't his first time around the block. He has 2 prior cases that were adjudicated, and there were never any mental health issues raised in either of those cases. So yes, I am suspect. I'm not suspect of Mr. Evans. I'm suspect of Mr. Hearn's claims at this time. Your Honor, quite simply, there just isn't enough. I would gladly address this again with Mr. Evans in front of the circuit court, but this is not the appropriate time.
Mr. Callahan, I suspect that if the court grants Mr. Evans' request, that he would be requesting an examination.
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't quite hear the end of that.
If the court grants Mr. Evans' request, are you requesting an adjournment and a hearing as well? Are you prepared to go?
I haven't conferred with my client about that. We're ready to proceed right now, I suppose.
And the people are ready to proceed. Your Honor, there is another option available to the court. And I have done this before. I have objected to referrals before.
Yes, I've seen you now.
And it is within the court's discretion, first of all, to grant the referral. However, the court can hold the exam during the pendency of a referral to preserve evidence under MCL 330.2022. So should the court give any credence, which the court should not give any credence to this request, but should the court want to be cautious and do that, the court has the option of proceeding with the exam today and then waiting to bind the case over until the completion of the report in this case. However, we are asking the court, obviously, to go ahead today. There should be no referral.
There's no case law of that.
That's
There's no case law.
statute.
Huh?
Have you shown
This-
the reference
this-
statute?
It's 330.2022.
Need a copy of that? I can get it for you. At this time, the court is going to make the determination that while there has been some information put on this record that with regard to Mr. Amos' client, specifically Mr. Hearn, that he may have had some treatment for 2 months prior to this incident at the adult well-being facility in Romulus, that we are going to go forward with the examination, and I will refer him for competency evaluation and withhold the decision to bind over until after that report has been filed.
Thank you. I'd like to make a record of some other things. The prosecution ended up that part of this is to preserve testimony.
Yes.
And I assume it's preserved testimony for trial, okay? I want the court to be aware that there are several reports that we have not been given part of. We've gotten some discovery actually today. There is a report, apparently one of the witnesses, of how the witness came into contact with the police that we have not been made
Okay, well, let's
party
go
of.
through them one by one. Let's start there. You got a report today from a witness.
No, we got a report, I did get part of, actually, what I received today was an additional part of the medical examiner's report.
Okay.
There was also a report as to a witness, Marcus Brown, that would explain how he came into the police custody as well as the circumstances around it. We understand that report exists. We have not been given it. That witness is going to be testifying today.
All right, let's let the prosecution respond to that.
As the medical examiner report, Your Honor, Dr. Schmidt this morning gave me a diagram of where the gunshot wound was to the 2-year-old's head. This is very self-explanatory. I showed it to defense today. As to Marcus Brown, the circumstances surrounding how the police officers came to Marcus Brown, there is no report that I am aware of where that was documented. We had some discussion about that this morning. I made Trooper Tawana Powell available to both defense counsel, where I believe that they explained how they got Mr. Brown's name. But I am not aware of any report where that was in writing.
Judge, I would like the record to reflect that I talked to the trooper and that I requested a copy of the report. She said that she issued a report, she gave it to the officer in charge. No one seems to have any idea as to the whereabouts of this report or...
No, Your
The
Honor.
prosecution is saying she does not have a report.
I know she's saying.
Forgive me, there is a report that counsel's been given regarding the circumstances under which they encountered people related to Marcus Brown. There was also a discussion regarding Mr. Hearn and the arrest of Mr. Hearn, which I pointed out to counsel in the it's a very lengthy investigator's report. There are a few paragraphs regarding their contact with Mr. Hearn that there was a report of that I directed their attention to today. However, I am not aware, and Trooper Powell indicated that there is nothing in writing regarding the circumstances in which they came into contact with Marcus Brown. The way that they got to Mr. Brown was because Mr. Jackson talked about Mr. Brown. That's how we got Mr. Brown, and that was recorded, and defense counsel has that.
Okay, well, counsel, the prosecution's indicated there's no separate report. We have a record of that, so if a report surfaces later, you can make another argument, but...
Make another argument, I don't know what could be more clear, Judge. I'm standing in the hallway. I asked the detective if she issued a report, if she wrote a report on it. She said she did, and that she gave it to the officer in charge. And I'm specific about it being with regards to Marcus Brown, not Mr. Hearn.
Okay, and we're being told that there is in fact no report.
Yeah, and also I would, at this point in time, object, obviously the testimony goes on, but future use of the testimony, I just want to make the record clear. We were given complete discovery last Thursday, okay? And in order to, if we're going to use this for testimony at a trial, okay, I prepare for a trial a lot further ahead than 5 days, okay? And so I want the record to reflect when we got the discovery, the fact that we are proceeding ahead, and under the 6th Amendment of the Constitution, we have a right to confront those witnesses, and confrontation is just not merely a chance to ask questions, it's to be able to prepare properly and ask questions, Your Honor, and that's just for the record. There's no ruling required by the court. Thank you.
For the record, please call your first witness.
Thank you. People call out Dr. Carl Schmidt.
As that witness is coming, I do want to say to the members of the press who are here, there's been a request that no witness be on camera, and I'd ask that you honor that. Thank you so much.
And Your Honor, if I may, I just wanted to make sure Mr. Hearn and Mr. Jackson should be charged within the same complaint. The warrants were signed, I believe, within a day of each other. If they have not been consolidated already, I would ask that they be consolidated.
No
Thank you.
objection.
So would you raise your right hand and be sworn? You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth? I do. You may be seated. Please spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Carl, C-A-R-L, Schmidt, S-C-H-M-I-D-T.
And Your Honor, before I take testimony from this witness, there's a stipulation between the prosecution and both defense counsels that Erica Gross, if she were to testify, she's the mother of Kamaya Gross, and she appeared at the Wayne County Medical Examiner's office on July 1st, 2014, to identify the body of her 2-year-old daughter, Kamaya Gross, who is the subject of Wayne County Medical Examiner post-mortem exam number 147141.
Correct, Your Honor.
That's a correct stipulation for exam purposes only.
We'll accept that for exam purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may address the witness.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Carl Schmidt.
And how are you employed?
I am a forensic pathologist employed as a medical examiner for Wayne County.
Is there any objection to the defendant being qualified as an expert in the field of forensic pathology at this time?
I'm familiar with Dr. Schmidt, and we're willing at this point in time to stipulate that Dr. Schmidt is indeed, can testify as an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
I'll join that stipulation.
We'll accept that and identify now Dr. Schmidt as an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Schmidt, I'm going to take you back to July 2nd, 2014. Were you working at the Wayne County Medical Examiner's office at that time?
I was.
And did you have the opportunity to do a post-mortem exam on Kamaya French Gross?
I did.
And that was Wayne County Medical Examiner number 14-7141.
Right.
Please tell me about that.
She was a 2-year-old child who was 28 pounds and 27 inches long.
And what was the cause of her death?
A gunshot wound to the head.
And what was the manner of death?
Homicide.
What does homicide mean?
Homicide is the term we use when death occurs at the hands of another person.
You said that Kamaya died of a gunshot wound to the head.
Correct.
Where was that gunshot wound?
The entrance wound was on the right eye, and the exit wound was above the left ear.
The entrance wound you said was above the right eye?
On the right eye.
On the right eye. Could you please, just for the record, point to what area on yourself?
It would be on the outer aspect of the right eye, approximately where I have my finger.
And there was an exit wound?
Correct.
And that was the back of her head?
That was on top of the left ear.
Okay, for the record, could you please indicate on yourself?
It
where
would be approximately where my glasses are, maybe a little bit above that.
So the bullet was through and through?
Correct.
Was there any evidence of stippling?
There was not.
What is stippling?
Stippling is what happens when you fire a gun close enough to a surface, such as the skin, and the combustion of the gunpowder, the products of combustion of the gunpowder actually impact the skin and leave a distinct pattern which we know as stippling.
And what is that evidence of?
That the gun was fired within a sufficiently close range to the skin so that those particles would impact the skin.
And how close would a gun need to be to leave stippling?
A generic gun usually needs to be about 2 feet away from the skin for any stippling to occur.
If it's less than 2 feet away, are you going to have stippling every time?
No, that's why I mentioned a generic gun. It depends on the caliber of the gun. Very small guns have to be very close to leave any stippling, and larger guns can be farther away to leave stippling.
Thank you, nothing further.
Briefly, what was the size of the entrance wound, if you know?
No, we usually don't measure the sizes of the entrance.
All right, what about the exit wound?
I can tell you where it was, but no, we don't measure it. It was a tear in the skin that was about half an inch long.
You have no idea then of the caliber of gun or bullet that was used in the gun that inflicted this injury, correct?
You cannot tell the caliber of a gun from the size of the entrance wound or the exit wound.
Doesn't a .22 make a bigger hole than a .45?
Objection. This point calls for speculation.
Nothing further, Judge.
No questions.
Thank you, sir.
People call Sinidra Smith.
Please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please spell your first and last name for the record.
SANEEDRASMITH.
May I, Your Honor? Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Sanidra Smith.
Ms. Smith, I'm going to take you back, okay? You okay? You ready, Ms. Smith?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Smith, I'm going to take you back to July 1st, 2014 to 30146 Carlisle in the city of Inkster. Were you at that location on that date between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m.?
Yes.
And did you know a person by the name of Third?
Yes.
How did you know Third?
Just from the neighborhood.
All right, Ms. Smith, something happened that brings you to court today?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
It was a shooting.
I'm sorry, I can't hear the witness.
It was a shooting.
Tell me what you remember.
I was sitting in the truck under the tree, and the guy, he come from around the building.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. You said that you were sitting in a truck under a tree, and you said the guy, and you looked up and looked at someone. Do you see the guy that you saw in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you please point to where he's seated and indicate what he's wearing?
Yellow, red pocket.
Yellow with a red pocket?
Yes.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant in this case, Raymone Jackson. Thank you. You said that you saw Mr. Jackson. Tell me what happened.
He walked past, he looked at us, then he walked up to Kamaya, and he shot her. And then Third jumped up like, "Oh, nigga, you shot my baby!" And before he can like really get the words out, he just started shooting.
Okay, Ms. Smith, how far away from you, how far were you from Kamaya?
Maybe 10 feet.
How old was Kamaya?
2.
And Third was how old?
I don't know.
Was he an adult?
Yes.
And you know him to be the father of Kamaya?
Yes.
Were there any other people outside when this happened that you saw?
Yes.
Who?
I was sitting with Kim.
I can't hear.
I was sitting with Kim,
Thank you.
and Third was on the porch, and I think it's his sister or somebody else was on the porch.
There was another person on the porch with Third?
Yeah.
Were they an adult?
Yeah.
Do you know that person's name?
No.
Did you know Chelsea Lancaster?
Yes.
Where was Chelsea?
She was playing in the yard, but then like when Kim said he's shooting, everybody get down, she ran to the porch.
Where Third was?
Yeah, because that's her home.
And you said that Mr. Jackson walked up and shot Kamaya first,
Yes.
and then he started shooting Third.
Yes.
Did you see Chelsea get shot?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Chelsea was running to the porch, I guess, to try to run in the house, and she got shot. Third grabbed her and tried to put his body over her, tried to grab everybody on the porch. He was over everybody on the porch.
Third was trying to protect Chelsea.
He was trying to protect everybody on the porch.
Where was Kamaya?
She was already on the ground.
After Mr. Jackson shot Kamaya and Third and Chelsea, what did he do?
He walked off.
Walked off?
Yes,
Did you see where he went?
to a car.
Did you see the color of the car that Mr. Jackson got into?
It's white.
When you saw Mr. Jackson before the shooting started, did you notice whether or not he had anything on his head or face?
Some Cartier glasses.
Can you describe those?
They was just black lenses.
And before Mr. Jackson shot Kamaya, did he say anything to you?
He just nodded like, "What's up?" And he was like, "What's up?"
Mr. Jackson acknowledged your presence
Yes.
before he shot Kamaya.
Yes.
And did he walk or run over to where Kamaya was?
He walked.
Calmly?
Yes.
One moment, please. And before Mr. Jackson shot Kamaya, did you hear anybody say anything to Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
What was that?
Yes. I heard Third say, "Look at this ghost ass nigga. Where the fuck you been at?" And he didn't say anything. He didn't respond. He just shot Kamaya.
Yeah, I didn't hear who made that
You
statement.
said he didn't say anything back at Third.
Yes.
He just shot Kamaya.
Yes.
He being Mr. Jackson.
No, the question is who is making that statement to Mr. Jackson?
Okay, counsel, can you clear that up?
Who spoke to Mr. Jackson?
Third.
And Mr. Jackson didn't say anything back to Third?
No.
He just shot Kamaya?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. You were in a vehicle sitting outside your apartment when this happened?
We were sitting up under the tree.
You don't
Yes.
have to speak up.
We were sitting up under the tree. Yes.
Who's we?
Me and another neighbor,
And the neighbor's name, please?
Kimberly.
I'm sorry,
Kimberly.
Kimberly what? You don't know Kimberly's last name?
No, she's a neighbor.
All right, and are you parked, you're sitting in a vehicle, are you in front of your townhouse or apartment, or are you in front of someone else's?
I was across the street in front of where Third was. I don't know whose house that is because I don't live on that side of the street.
Okay, so you were visiting someone else's place then, right?
Yes.
This wasn't your vehicle that you were sitting in, was it?
No.
And you're sitting in this vehicle, what are you doing, smoking,
No.
no?
No, it wasn't.
Had you been drinking anything that day?
I had a shot, yes.
How many shots did you have?
Just one.
When did you have that shot?
Maybe an hour before then.
I'm sorry.
Maybe an hour prior to then.
And so you're sitting in a vehicle, you're listening to music, right?
We were catching shade. We wasn't even listening to any music.
Catching shade.
Yeah, it was hot that day. We were sitting up under the tree. Nobody wanted to sit in the house. We were sitting up under the tree in the car.
And you and your girlfriend Kim were talking,
Yeah.
all right? You didn't notice a vehicle drive by?
No.
You noticed nothing before this individual walked past you, right?
No.
Right. You indicated that, do you know Mr. Jackson sitting there?
No, I don't.
You'd never seen him before in your life, right?
No.
And all he did was walk by you, correct?
Yes.
Was he coming from the street? Where was he coming from?
He came from around the building. From the back of the building.
All right. And is there a parking lot behind the back of the building?
I don't live on that end, but I think it is. I don't know.
Or is there a street that, I mean...
I've never been back there.
All right,
I
so...
never had a reason to go back there.
Well, let me ask you this, you know, you got the front of the building, there's apartments or townhouses, and there's also some at the rear, correct?
Right.
So there would be some rear apartments. Do you know if those rear apartments were just facing a parking lot or a street?
It was facing a street.
Okay. What was he wearing?
He was wearing some tan polo shoes. Some,
Tan polo shoes?
yes, tan polo shoes. He had on some khaki shorts and a black polo shirt with Cartier glasses on.
And you indicated that the lenses were black, right?
Yes.
You could not see his eyes, correct?
No.
The person you saw, how tall were they approximately?
Maybe maybe like 5'10", 5'9", I don't know.
All right, so
Not that tall.
when this guy walks by you, he walks up to French's house. Are you paying attention to him, or are you paying attention to your girlfriend?
We were all talking amongst each other, like from the car to the porch. Like was talking, it was a lot of us out there before everything had happened. And people just dispersed. Some people went to the store, some people went to go play basketball. And so it wasn't like I was just talking to Kim. It was like he over there, we over here, and they were over there, but then they left, so we were just chilling. We were waiting.
So, are you parked on the street directly in front of the residence where the Frenches reside?
Yes,
All right, so this person, you claim to be Mr. Jackson, did he stop and look at you and say, "What's up?"
he walked past, like pulled his pants up, and he nodded his head, and we was like, "What's up?"
You went, "What's up?"
Yeah.
He didn't say anything to you,
He didn't
right?
say anything, he just nodded his head.
And at the time this happens, Mr. French is on the front porch, right?
Yes,
Where's Kamaya?
playing outside in the yard, sidewalk.
Well, is she directly in front of the porch? Is she in Mr. French's lap? Where is she?
She's directly in front of the porch.
And is she seated in front of, there was another lady sitting out there, Miss Tony Holt. Do you know her?
I know of her, yes.
Okay, was Kamaya in front of Tony?
She was probably like a couple of feet, not even a couple of feet, she was right there.
Could Mr. French have reached out and touched Kamaya?
He would have had to take a couple steps, yeah.
Right. In fact, Mr. French got off the porch, did he not?
No, he did not get off the porch.
He never
stood
left the
up.
porch then?
He stood up,
He stood up. You're sure he never left the porch?
I'm sure.
You watched this from the time it started until the time it ended, correct?
Yes.
After, it was your testimony that Kamaya was shot first, correct?
Yes.
What did French do then?
He jumped up, he said, "Nigga, you shot my baby," but before he can like finish, you know, what he was saying, he was getting shot up. And that's when Chelsea was running, that's when he rolled over and put his arms around everybody or whatever.
Indicating for the record, third rolled over with an arm in a protective manner.
Yes.
Where did the shooter take the handgun from?
His pocket,
Which pocket?
his right,
What hand was he using?
his right.
How many shots did he fire, do you know?
Maybe like 9.
You weren't counting them, were you?
I was just trying to remember the 5 out.
So, if I understand correctly, you didn't take your eyes off of him once he started shooting, did you?
I was shocked. I was in shock.
And did he leave? Did he walk right past you, or where did he go?
No, he walked straight to the into the driveway
And you say he walked calmly, right?
yes. He walked the same way he walked the.
And at any point in time, were you taken downtown and asked to identify him?
Yes,
And did you do so?
yes.
Nothing further at this time, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith, I'm going to be asking you some questions. Now, if at any point in time you don't understand the question I'm asking, please stop me. I'll try to put it in a way that you do, okay? You need to answer, okay. Okay. And if you answer the question, I'm going to assume you understood it, all right? Now, how long have you been sitting outside the French residence?
Maybe 2 hours.
Okay. And you said that you don't live in that neighborhood you were
No,
visiting?
I didn't say I didn't live in that neighborhood. I said I don't live on that side of the street.
Okay, on that side of the street. How far, I don't want your address or anything like that, but how far away are you, how many blocks are you away from this address?
Not even no blocks. I'm across the street.
Okay, so you live on the other side of the street?
Yes.
Okay. And this person that you identified only as Kimberly, now she's a neighbor, she live on that street?
Yes,
Okay, you know the house she lives in?
yes,
Okay, and if I were to ask you to, would you be able to supply that to the prosecutor? And where Kimberly lives, so we can perhaps talk to her?
yes,
You'd be able to do that?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, you didn't see a gun when you first walked up, is that correct?
correct.
Okay. And when he walked up, did you see where he came from? Or do you understand the question?
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
He came from around the building. I was wondering where he was coming from because the first two houses right there are burnt up.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. So he came from around a building, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Did you see if there was a car there? Could you see?
it wouldn't have been no place for a car to be over there.
Okay. So you didn't see any car at that point in time, correct? Okay. And you said he just appeared from around the corner, calmly walked over, and you said did what he did, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you didn't see that gun in his hand at the time he came around that corner, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. With the court's permission. Now, after he left, did he walk back in the same direction he came from?
No,
Okay. Where did he go?
to the end of the parking lot, to the end of the driveway.
Okay. And the driveway you're talking about, to what?
It's at the end of the building.
Okay, the end of the building. And what did you see him do after you walked away?
He got in the back seat,
You got in the back seat of what?
a white car.
Okay, you know what kind of car it was?
I thought it was an Impala, but it could have been a neighbor's Impala over there. I don't know,
Okay.
because
You fair to say this is a pretty upsetting thing, what happened?
Yes.
correct? Okay. And you're not sure what type of car, but you thought it was about the size of an Impala?
Yes.
Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
Okay. And you say you got in the back of the car. Did you see anybody else in the car?
no,
Okay. But you were sure he got into the back, there was a four-door then, correct?
yes.
And did he get into the driver's side or the passenger side?
Passenger side.
Okay. And was this car in the driveway?
Yes,
Okay. I have no further questions.
No, Your Honor. People call Marcus Brown.
Judge, may we approach for just a second?
No.
No, no. Because I have to. Mr. Brown, we need just a moment. Would you excuse us for just a moment, and then we'll recall you? We're going to just take a short break.
All rise.
You may be seated. Oh, this way. Miss Olson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just, the last one's been released. I mean, I don't.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any questions.
I'll just make sure.
I can't speak to it, obviously, Mr. Chairman.
Is he? I'll check that.
All rise. Court is back in session.
Okay, I think Brown will take good care of it.
They want to know to do it, it's either release that last witness.
Yeah,
Ready?
I already told him.
Oh, you did? Fantastic.
Okay, we're back on the record. Please call your next witness.
Your Honor, before I call my next witness, I did want to make a record of something that was brought to my attention during the break. The last witness who testified was Ms. Smith. If the court noticed, her voice was very shaky throughout her entire testimony. She looked down a lot. She appeared very shaken. Of course, she was testifying about something very traumatic. But she indicated to me on the break that Mr. Jackson, the person she identified, was mouthing words to her and making gestures towards her, which made her more frightened than she already was. I would ask the court to direct Mr. Jackson to not mouth words to the witnesses and to keep his hand away from his face while we're taking testimony.
Oh, you witness that as well?
Yes, I told him.
You witness that as well?
I didn't see it.
Unfortunately, Mr. Jackson is seated behind the attorneys, so we would not have been in a position to see that.
Just slide over just a little. Do you mind if I talk to your client?
No.
Mr. Jackson? This is a serious proceeding.
I understand, ma'am.
You don't have to say a word. This is a serious proceeding. And I expect a level of professionalism and respect from all the attorneys, all the officers, everybody in the audience. You will give it as well. I'm giving it to you, and I would make sure that it's given to you. If you cannot abide by that, we will make some other arrangements for you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to have to do that. I want you to have the opportunity, because it's your right to be present. But if you cannot control yourself, or you're doing anything to intimidate a witness that I determine is done inappropriately, you will be removed. Do you understand? Do you have a problem with that?
No, ma'am.
Is there anything we can do to assist you to make sure
No, ma'am.
that you can conduct yourself in an appropriate way in this house, in this courthouse? Anything we can do?
No, ma'am.
I didn't witness this, but my officers are telling me that that's what you were doing. It will not happen here. Please call your name.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Marcus Brown.
Officer? Let me know. Thank you.
Sir, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please spell your first and last name for the record.
MARCUSBROWE.
May I, Your Honor?
Please do.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Marcus Brown.
And Mr. Brown, I'm first going to ask you, do you know a person by the name of Baggs?
Yes.
Do you see Baggs seated in the courtroom today?
Yes.
For the record, could you please indicate where he's seated and what he's wearing?
Straight ahead.
Can you describe what he's wearing for me?
Yellow suit,
Anything else about that yellow suit?
pocket on it,
What color is that pocket?
pink.
Let the record reflect the witnesses identified Raymone Jackson.
Record will so reflect.
Mr. Brown, do you also know Mr. Jackson as money or money bags?
Correct.
Both? Is that
Yes.
yes? Okay, Mr. Brown, I'm going to ask that you use yes or no because the court reporter needs to take down every word you're saying, okay?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Brown, can you scoot up just a little bit? Thanks.
Mr. Brown, do you also know a person by the name of Shoes?
Yes.
Do you see Shoes in the courtroom today?
Yes.
For the record, could you please indicate where he's seated and what he's wearing?
Straight ahead, yes. With the yellow suit on, gray pocket.
Let the record reflect that the defendant has, or that the witness has identified the defendant Raphael Hearn in this case.
Record will so reflect.
You know Mr. Hearn as Shoes?
Correct.
Do you know him as anything else?
No.
I'm going to take you back to July 1st, 2014, to the area of 30146 Carlisle, in the city of Inkster. Did you find yourself in that location with Shoes and money bags around 7:30 or 8:30 p.m.?
Yes.
How did you come to be there?
Just riding past the projects, just riding.
Okay, you were riding. Were you in a car riding?
White car.
A white car? Did you know what kind of a car it was that day?
No.
Do you know what kind of a car it is today?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of car is it?
A Buick.
It was a white Buick?
Correct.
All right, and where were you in that Buick when you rode past Carlisle?
I'm in the back seat.
You were in the back seat? Where was Moneybags, Mr. Jackson?
Passenger.
He was in the passenger seat?
Bags.
Bags, yes.
He was a driver and then Raphael was a passenger.
Okay. All right, I know this is hard, okay? I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up for me. I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Bags, Mr. Jackson, where was he in that vehicle?
Driver.
He was the driver when you rode past the first time?
Correct.
And who was in the passenger seat?
Shoes.
Shoes, Mr. Hearn was in the passenger seat?
Correct.
All right, so you said that you rode past the Carlisle location, and did something happen?
Rode past, they had seen that Third was outside.
Objection to they.
Out of phrase?
Thank you.
When you drove past Carlisle, do you know a person by the name of Third?
I do now.
Okay. And did you see that person, Third, outside of that location when you rode by with Mr. Jackson and Mr. Hearn?
Yes.
Did either Mr. Hearn or Mr. Jackson say something when you rode past the Carlisle location?
Jackson had made it.
I'm going to object at this point in time. Any statements from the co-defendant should not be used against my client under People v. Bruton.
I'll join the objection.
So noted for the record. You can answer.
Jackson had made the statement that, there go Third right there. There that nigga go right there. Go holler at this nigga.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That nigga go right there. That nigga Third go right there. Let me go holler at that nigga.
Did he say something else?
Let me kill that nigga.
Mr. Jackson said, "Let me kill that nigger"?
Correct.
That's what Mr. Jackson said.
Yes.
What did Mr. Hearn do?
Pulled to the back of the complex.
I'm going to stop you. You told me earlier that Mr. Jackson was driving that vehicle?
You said what did Mr. Hearn do?
You said that Mr. Jackson was driving that vehicle, did you not?
Correct.
And that Mr. Jackson said, "Let me get out and go kill this end"?
Correct.
Does Jackson get out of the car at that point?
Correct.
What happens when Jackson gets out of the car?
Pulls his weapon and proceed to the front.
What does Mr. Hearn do?
Gets in the driver's seat.
Mr. Hearn gets into the driver's seat that Mr. Jackson just left?
Correct.
How does Mr. Hearn get into the driver's seat?
Just climbs over.
And what does Mr. Hearn then do as Mr. Jackson walks away, pulling his gun?
Pull around to the side of the projects.
What are you doing?
In the back seat. Just trying to kind of figure out now what's going on. And, at this point I'm kind of nervous because I seen him draw his gun.
Mr. Hearn drives to the back of the complex, is that correct?
Around to like a section of driveway where it's like between houses and the projects.
And do you hear something once you reach that location?
Yeah, I hear some gunshots.
What happens next?
Gunshots ring, and then Jackson coming back to the car.
Where does Jackson get back into the car?
Correct.
And where does he get when he gets back into the car?
He gets into the passenger side.
Who's driving?
Raphael.
What happens next?
Then, you know, Jackson get to ranting about how he got that nigga, fuck that nigga.
That's what Jackson's saying?
Yes.
Does he say anything else?
You know, I just let off 10, I got 6 more for whoever. At that point, you know, I was kind of fearful because I was going to, you know, try and, you know, leave the situation, but at that point I'm kind of scared.
What does Mr. Hearn say while Mr. Jackson is ranting and raving?
You know, about time somebody, you know, feel how I felt.
Mr. Hearn says it's about time somebody feel how I felt.
Correct.
Does he say anything else about what Jackson had just done?
No, ma'am.
Did he say whether or not he was happy about it?
Objection.
What's
Objection.
the objection?
The objection is he said he didn't say anything. He said, no, he didn't say anything. Then she asked a question. First of all, it's a leading question, and he's already answered the question. It says, no, he didn't say anything.
Counsel, can you rephrase?
I can.
I'll sustain the objection.
We met prior to this date, did we not?
Yes.
And I took a statement from you under oath,
Yes.
and you read that statement today, did you not?
Yes.
And that was your statement.
Yes.
And referring to page 11 of that statement, did you testify that Bags runs back up to the car, gets in the car, you know, talking about how I got that nigga, fuck that pussy ass nigga, I got that nigga, and we pull off. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
And then the next question was, what does Raphael say? And your answer was, you know, good shit. That's how we take care of business.
Yes.
And your answer then was yes?
Yes.
Did Mr. Hearn say that after Mr. Jackson got in the car?
Yes.
Who drove the car away from that scene?
Mr. Hines.
One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Brown, you said that Mr. Hearn said that now somebody knows how I feel. Were you aware of any prior problems with Mr. Hearn in Third?
No, I was aware that Hearn had been shot at the after hour, but in regards to him and Third having a beef, I wasn't aware of that.
But you knew that Hearn had recently been injured by gunfire?
Correct.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you.
How long have you known Mr. Jackson?
Not that long, maybe 2 to 4 months.
2 to 4 months. And then where did you meet him at?
I met him through shoes.
And how often would you say in that 2 to 4 months you would see him?
Maybe about once a week.
Just once a week?
Yes.
So you saw him maybe 7, 8 times before this happened, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right? And you wouldn't call him a friend of yours, would you?
An associate, not a friend.
Did you have occasion to go to his house?
No.
All right. Did you go to clubs together?
No.
Did you go out on dates together?
No.
Did you smoke dope together?
No.
Objection to relevance.
What would you do together?
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
What's the relevance?
I'm just trying to get his
In the 2 to 4 month period?
Yes.
If they were associated, do you want to know the nature of the relationship?
right.
Okay, you can ask that question.
Most type of contact we had, I cut his hair.
And prior to this incident occurring, when was the last time you had cut his hair?
maybe 3 to 4 days prior.
Where'd you cut it at?
At Hearn's house.
Now, on this date, which I believe is July 1st, right?
Yes.
Okay. What time did you meet up with Mr. Jackson?
Was until about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And how is it that you met up with Mr. Jackson at 5:30, 6 o'clock?
He met me in Hearn, at Hearn's residence.
So you were at Hearn's residence, right, and Mr. Jackson came over,
Yes.
right? And was he driving a vehicle?
Yes.
What vehicle was he driving?
A white vehicle.
And this was, what, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock, you say?
Maybe 6:30, yes.
Okay. And in relationship to the projects where you were at, where does Mr. Hearn live?
We were at the Hearn residence when we met up with Jackson,
Right. Where is that located? What city?
Inkster.
And the three of you decide to leave. Where were you going to go?
Get some liquor.
Did you go get some liquor?
Yes.
And did you consume that liquor?
Yes.
Where did you consume it at?
In the vehicle.
What kind of liquor did you get?
Hennessy.
And how much did you just get one bottle, or did you each get a bottle?
It was just a pint.
So the three of you split a pint of Hennessy?
Correct.
And had you consumed any other intoxicants that day?
No, sir.
So if I understand this, that with the three of you grabbed some Hennessy and you just decided to drive through the projects?
Just drive through the neighborhood.
That's not your neighborhood, is it?
No, sir.
It's not Mr. Jackson's neighborhood, is it, that you know of?
No, sir.
And it's not Mr. Hearn's neighborhood that you know of, correct?
No, sir.
So you don't know that there's a particular reason why you went there, correct?
No, sir.
Now, you indicate that Mr. Jackson's doing the driving, correct?
Yes.
All right, and there comes a point in time as he's driving when he sees somebody that he recognizes, correct?
Yes.
And what did he call him?
Third.
Third. You didn't inquire who Third was, did you?
No.
He didn't just stop the car, did he?
No.
Where did he go in the car?
I don't understand the question.
Well, he didn't stop the car in front of Third's residence, did he?
No, sir.
Okay, he proceeded forward somewhere, correct?
Into the next driveway.
And how far from where Mr. French or Third was located would this have been?
Maybe half a block.
Okay. When he gets out of the vehicle, according to you, he pulls out a gun, right?
Yes.
And did you say, hey, wait a minute, what are you going to do with that gun?
No.
You didn't say anything, did you?
No.
You watched him, where did he pull the gun from?
From his hip.
From his hip?
Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. And you just watch him walk away, correct?
Yes.
If I understand correctly, then, Mr. Hearns gets into the driver's seat, correct?
Yes.
And he drives somewhere, right?
Yes.
And where does he drive to?
Around the back of the complex.
Right. Now, nobody's told You didn't tell Mr. Jackson, or Mr. Hearn didn't tell Mr. Jackson where you were going, did you?
No, sir.
All right, and the whereabouts of where Mr. Jackson went wasn't known to you, was it?
No, sir.
I mean, you had no idea he was going to approach any porch and shoot anybody, did you?
I know that he made mention to who he just saw when he was passing.
But that's all, correct?
Excuse me?
That's all.
Yes.
And then you hear gunshots, right?
Yes.
And then somehow or another, what Mr. Jackson seems to locate your car. He comes to you, right? You're parked.
He comes to the vehicle in between the projects and the houses.
How long had he been gone?
I say anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
And then according to you, he says, I got the nigger or something like that?
Yes.
He didn't say I shot him, did he?
I killed that pussy ass nigga, fuck that nigga.
I'm sorry, what?
I killed that pussy ass nigga, fuck that nigga.
Okay, did he have the gun with him?
I don't know, I didn't see it at this point. It may have been put back in his pocket or concealed, I don't know. I didn't see a gun when he got back.
And then he gets in the car, right? He gets in the car, right?
Yes.
And then the three of you proceed downtown, correct?
Yes.
And you go to the Riverwalk, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you get to the Riverwalk, was there any point in time when you were separated from these two at all?
Yes.
All right, and you have a cell phone, don't you?
Correct.
And did you call the police and say, I have just witnessed, or I know I have information relative to a murder that occurred in Inkster?
No, sir.
You went home that night, correct?
Yes.
All right, and the only comments Mr. Jackson made to you about shooting anybody was when he first got in the car, right?
Incorrect.
Oh, no? What else did
There
he
was
say?
another statement made that I just let 10 off and I got 6 more for whoever.
Okay, that's right after he got in the car,
Yes,
correct?
that was the threat that I feel like was initiated toward me, insinuated toward me.
But he didn't look at you and threaten you?
He did look at me.
He did look at you?
Yes.
And when you get to the Riverwalk, do you stop by the way? Do you buy more alcohol that evening?
No.
While you're on the Riverwalk, do you stop in any eating establishments? Do you have any more to drink that night?
No, sir.
Do you smoke any marijuana that night?
No.
And then somehow you get home, right?
Yes.
How'd you get home?
Dropped off to my vehicle.
And your vehicle was where?
It was at Raphael's house.
And after you were dropped off, did you call the police and say, I have information relative to a murder?
No, sir. I was in fear of my life at the time.
But you never came forward to the police, correct?
I was very cooperative with the police and came forward when they asked about me.
They came to you first, right?
Correct.
You didn't go to them.
No, sir.
Nothing further at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is this yours?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Brown, I'm going to be asking you some questions. Now, at any point in time you don't understand the question I'm asking, please stop me. I'll try to put it in the way that you do, okay?
Yes, sir.
So if you answer the question, I'm going to assume that you understood it, okay? Now, we'll start off first. Have you ever been convicted of a crime involving, a felony, involving theft or dishonesty within the last 5 years?
No, sir.
Now, you testified that you and Mr. Jackson and Mr. Hearn hooked up sometime around 6:30 that evening, is that correct?
I had seen Hernan earlier that day. I had took him to the doctor.
Oh, you took him to the doctor?
Correct.
And how did you take him to the doctor?
With my vehicle,
Okay. And what vehicle is that?
a Nissan Altima,
Okay. What color is that Nissan Altima?
silver.
Okay. And this white vehicle that you said that the three of you were riding in at the time of the shooting, whose vehicle was that?
I wasn't aware of whose vehicle it was.
Well, you're familiar with Mr. Jackson, right? Before this date, correct? And what kind of car does Mr. Jackson drive if he has one?
Only vehicle I've seen him in was a Taurus,
Okay. And what color is the Taurus?
maroon.
Okay. And have you assumed that that's his car, or did you only see him on one occasion with that Taurus?
Yeah, it was seldom. I've only seen him with it once.
I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying.
Seldomly. I've seen him with it maybe once or twice.
Okay. So this isn't the normal car that you have seen him in, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And the other car is in Mr. Hearn's, right? Because you had to take him to the doctor that day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is car a rental car, if you remember?
I'm not sure. I believe so. I'm not sure.
You believe it was wrong? Okay. You believe it was a rental, is that correct?
Not sure.
Okay. I'm not asking if you're sure it was a rental, but at the time, did you believe it was a rental?
Objection calls for speculation.
No, it doesn't call for speculation, it's called for a state of mind. What he believed, not what it was, what he believed.
I don't know.
Well, Your Honor, since we're preserving testimony, you would expect a little wide latitude. We're trying to figure out whose car this is. Well, maybe cut to the chase. Isn't this actually your girlfriend rent this car?
No, sir.
Okay. But you said you weren't sure, but you later found out it was a Buick. Now, you didn't know what it was then. How did you find out what car it was later?
Through police questioning.
Oh, the police told you it was a Buick.
No, the police questioned me and asked me what does the vehicle look like, and I saw the decal on the front of the car.
Okay. Well, didn't you just testify that you weren't sure what kind of car it was, but you later found out it was a Buick? That was your testimony, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, how is it that at the time you were in the car that you didn't know what type of car it was, but you later found out?
Due to my intoxication, maybe.
Okay, so you were so drunk at that point in time, are you saying that you didn't know what make of car it was, right?
But just wasn't paying attention, sir.
Okay, but you testified later, you found out it was a Buick. Now, how did you find out it was a Buick?
Objection asked and answered, John.
Well, he hasn't answered it, right?
Through the questioning and investigation of the police.
Okay, so the police show you pictures of cars, and you say, hey, I recognize that decal? Is that how it happened?
They showed me a picture of a vehicle, and yes, I recognize the vehicle.
They showed you a picture of a vehicle that you recognized as being the vehicle that you were in that night. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let the record reflect I have not, in the discovery packet, have received any pictures of any suspected vehicles, or that any vehicle was ever taken into custody.
Let the record reflect people do not have that yet, and as soon as we do, we will turn it over.
Okay. Just so, yeah, thank you. Now, in this vehicle, was there like a center console? You know what I mean by center console, where like the stick, where the transmission, and there's usually like there'll be something in between the seats?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So, was this you don't know what make of vehicle, was it a big car, small car, medium car, what kind of car was it?
A regular car, sir.
A regular sized car, so it wasn't like a compact, right? It wasn't a compact, like a Sonic or something like that. You know what a Sonic is, right?
No, sir.
Okay. But you don't even know if there was a center console in this vehicle, right?
No, sir.
Okay. And how long were you in this car? You were driving around at least a couple hours, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that couple hours you never registered. Did Mr. Hearn here, did you have any trouble getting into that driver's seat from the passenger seat without going around?
No, sir.
Objection, Your Honor.
What do you mean?
Well, I think this is meant to confuse the witness. He's asking about Mr. Hearn, but touching Mr. Jackson.
Well, I'm sure I was more, well,
Do
okay.
you know who he's talking about?
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Well, here,
Great, counsel, I'll suspend your
okay.
judgment.
You testified that, excuse me, so you're not confused, Mr. Hearn, this is Mr. Hearn, okay, that he got into the driver's seat from the passenger seat without exiting the vehicle. Remember,
Yes, sir.
tell us that?
Yes.
Did he do that, was that easy, or did he have to climb over something, if you remember?
I don't remember it being anything to climb over.
Okay. Was this a newer vehicle, like built, you think, within the last 5 years, or was this an older vehicle?
It was newer.
Okay. Now, you said that Mr. Jackson was the driver, and he pulled around the corner, okay, for after he saw Mr. French outside. And after he saw Mr. French, did anybody do anything in the car when they went by Mr. French's?
I'm not understanding the question.
Did Mr. Jackson or anybody wave to him, say hi? Or they just drove by?
Just drove by.
Okay, so they didn't wave, they didn't say what's going on, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, any clarification for that? Yes, they did waive, or no, they didn't waive?
They did not wave, is that correct?
No, they did not wave.
Okay. And no one in the vehicle said anything to Mr. French, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, eventually the car left the street and went to a parking lot, is that correct, or is it another street? After you passed Mr. French's house, okay, the vehicle turned one way or the other, correct? Which way did it turn, left or right?
To the right.
Okay. And how far, after the turn, how far did the vehicle go until you say Mr. Jackson stopped?
The relative distance, maybe about 4 or 5 project houses.
So 4 or 5 houses down from after he turned, that's when he stopped, right? He stopped, parked legally, is that correct? Did he park legally?
Parked legally as in...
As far as the vehicle was parked either with the passenger side wheels against the curb or in a regular parking spot?
Improperly.
It was parked improperly?
Correct.
Okay, so when Mr. Jackson got out of the vehicle, he ordered anybody to do anything? You're shaking your head no, is that
No,
right?
sir.
Okay, thank you. So he got out, he drew this gun.
Yes.
And you described as black and silver. Do you know the difference between an automatic and a revolver as far as gun types? Do you know the difference?
Yes.
Was it a revolver? Was it an automatic? What was it?
It was automatic.
Okay. Did you know what the caliber was?
No, sir.
Okay. And what hand did he have the gun in?
Right hand, I believe.
Okay. Now, after he got out and pulled this gun, did you watch him go back to where, back? Did you watch him as he walked away?
Yes.
Okay. And when you saw him walk away and walk, where was he walking back towards in the same direction where Mr. French was?
Walked in between some apartments.
Okay. He walked between some apartments. And in the direction he was walking, was that toward, would that be in the general direction, or where Mr. French was?
Yes.
Okay. Did he still have the gun in his hand then?
Yes.
And you watched him, and after, and you were able, how far were you able to watch him go down this path?
Just until he had turned that corner and he was no longer visible.
Okay. And from the time that you saw him, he was no longer visible, to the time you heard the first shots, how long was that?
About 30 seconds
Okay.
to a minute.
30 seconds to a minute. Now, eventually the police, through their investigation, got your name, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me how it was that they came in contact with you?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, I'm asking, let me rephrase the question, okay? Okay. Do you know, you were contacted by the police, correct?
No, the police contacted my parents, and I was contacted by my parents.
Okay, so they contacted your parents contacted you, and what did you do?
I went home and cooperated with the police.
Okay, well, you went on, you cooperated with the police, okay? What did you do, the first thing you did in cooperating with the police, where did you go? Did you go down to the Inkster Police Department?
I went home where the police were.
Okay, so you came home with the police, and they were waiting there for you, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you made a statement, right? To the police?
Yes.
Okay. Did you sign anything?
No.
How long did you talk to the police for?
48 hours.
You talked to the police for 2 days?
Are you saying cumulatively or just in that day where I was?
That initial time that you were out there, how long did you talk to the police?
Yeah, about 12 hours.
About 12 hours, and this was at your home?
No, sir, I was detained and
Oh, they took you under arrest, okay? And they read you your rights, is that correct?
yes.
Okay. And then they questioned you. And you said that over a period of how many days you were questioned for how many hours?
Initially I was released and then I was picked back up.
Okay, and you were arrested again, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want the record to reflect that we have received no information concerning any arrest ever made of this defendant, or excuse me, this witness, and that the only thing that we've gotten is a transcript of an investigative subpoena.
For the record, I tender a copy of the initial interview with Mr. Brown to the defense where he read his rights on camera.
Record will reflect the statement of both counsels.
Thank you. Now, eventually, you went down to the, you met with Ms. Powell here, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Powell did what's known as an investigative subpoena. Is that correct? Or there was a court stenographer there, and she advised you of all your rights, that you have a right to an attorney there, and that this could be used against you if you perjure yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your testimony earlier, you talk about a statement where you felt you were threatened. Okay, did you tell the police about that?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't a direct threat, but it was insinuated and I made mention to it.
Okay, you made mention to it, but you didn't make mention to it during the subpoena where the court officer was there.
There was a set of different questions asked.
Okay. They didn't ask you what happened?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any reason why you wouldn't have included that in what you told them?
Objection, argumentative. He said he answered a set of questions, but he was not asked about any threats.
Do you understand the question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Is there a reason why you didn't, when they asked you what happened, why you didn't include that in your testimony then?
Initially, when I was taken in by the police, I did make mention that I felt threatened and that, there were threats
Okay.
insinuated.
Oh, okay. But just not this day?
Not when the subpoena had been issued.
Okay. Just to go back, once your parents called you and you went back and the police are there, how long were you there at your parents' house being interviewed?
I was never interviewed at my parents' house.
You just went over there and they snatched you up and arrested you, right?
Correct.
Okay. And is your understanding that you gave is it a total of 48 hours of testimony, or you were just held for 48 hours?
I was held for longer than 48 hours. The 48 hours can be cumulative of the hours I was held, but I wasn't interviewed for a total of 48 hours straight.
Okay. How many hours do you think you were interviewed for?
I don't know.
Well, you've been here all morning. Was it longer than the time you've been at the courthouse today?
Objection, argumentative. He said he stated that he didn't know how long he was.
All right. Was it longer than, do you understand the question? Was it longer than the time that you've been here today, this morning?
No.
I mean, it wasn't just a half hour, was it?
I've been here longer than a half hour.
Okay, this is a new question, okay. You were interviewed longer than a half hour, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And were you interviewed multiple times by perhaps different officers?
No.
It was always the same officer,
The same two officers.
same two officers?
Maybe one time it was a different officer.
Okay, so your interview stopped and started and with two officers, and there may have been another officer asked questions at some point in time?
Yes.
Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you picked up some Hennessy. Where did you buy the Hennessy from? Do you remember?
At a liquor store in Inkster.
Do you remember where that liquor store is?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm not asking where you live or anything. Are you familiar with the area of Inkster?
No, sir.
Okay. You live in some other city?
Yes.
Okay. With the court's permission. Now, after Mr. Hearns, or excuse me, Mr. Jackson leaves, you said that Mr. Hearns moved the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
How far did he move the vehicle, approximately?
From the point where it stopped to the end of the driveway.
Okay. And how many houses was that about?
About 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay. So he moved the house 6 or 7 and stopped, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
No, Your Honor. May we call our next witness? People call Tony Holt.
Please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please spell your first and last name for the record.
Tommy, T-O-N-I, Hope, H-O-L-C.
Mayor? Please proceed. Thank you. Good afternoon. Would you please say your name for the record?
Tommy Hope.
Ms. Holt, I'm going to take you back to July 1st, 2014, to 30146 Carlisle in the city of Inkster. Were you at that location on that date?
Yes.
What is that location to you?
That's where I live.
Was a person named Third present with you at the location on that date?
Yes.
Do you know Third's real name?
Kenneth French.
How do you know Mr. French?
We've been friends for a long time. It's like my cousin. We call each other cousins, so, yeah.
And did Mr. French have any children with him at your house on that date?
Yes.
Who?
Kamaya.
Kamaya Gross?
Yes.
How old was Kamaya?
2.
And did you have children present at that location on that date?
Yes.
Who?
My 12-year-old daughter, Chelsea, my 2-year-old daughter, Layla, and my 7-year-old daughter, Nevaeh.
Your 12-year-old daughter's name is Chelsea?
Correct.
What is her last name?
Lancaster.
Lancaster?
Yes.
And then you also had a 2-year-old that was present named Layla?
Yes.
And a 7-year-old named Nevaeh?
Correct.
Did something happen between 7:30 and 8:30 that brings you to court today?
Yes.
Please tell me about that.
We were all outside, me, Third, Chelsea, Layla, and Kamaya. Nevaeh was across the street. We were just sitting out there, letting the kids play like we do every day.
When you say we were sitting out there, who are you talking
Me and
about?
Third were
And where were you seated?
on the stairs, on the porch.
The stairs of the porch?
Yeah.
And where was Kamaya?
Her, Layla, and Chelsea were in the yard playing.
I can't hear the witness.
Ms. Hope, can you just keep your voice up, please?
Okay.
Air conditioning that's running, it's kind of hard to hear.
Yeah, if I would, or if I can. Justice.
I'm sorry, one more time. Where were the children?
Out in the yard playing.
And at some point, did someone approach you?
Approached me?
Approach the porch area?
Yes.
And where were the children at that time?
They were on like the sidewalk area, kind of close to the porch.
But they're below you?
Yes.
And that would be Layla and
Layla and Kamaya.
the
Yes.
two 2-year-olds?
Yes.
And do you know where Chelsea is?
Chelsea, I think she was either standing behind me. Yeah, she was standing behind me, I'm almost sure.
Had you asked her to get something for you?
I had asked her to go and get Layla's tennis shoes for her, because she had on flip-flops and they were running, and I didn't want her to mess her feet up.
Okay, so Chelsea had been playing in the yard and you had asked her to get some shoes?
Yes.
Which would require her to go back into the house?
Correct.
And you said that someone approached you. Did that person, did he have anything on his face?
Some glasses.
What kind of glasses?
They were like big round tan glasses.
They were tinted glasses? Okay, and do you see the person that approached the porch in the courtroom today?
Yes.
For the record, if you could please indicate where that person is seated and what they're wearing.
He's seated right there wearing an orange jumpsuit.
Can you give me a little bit more than that, because we have a couple people dressed similarly?
Yeah, he got a, what's that, pink pocket on his?
Let the record reflect, the witnesses identified the defendant Raymone Jackson. When Mr. Jackson approached the porch, did anybody say anything?
Yeah, Third said, he was walking down like toward the stairs, and he's like, what's up? Where you, I ain't seen you in a minute, or something like, where you been, or something like that.
Did Mr. Jackson say anything back to him?
No.
What happened?
He just pulled the gun out and started shooting.
Did you see the shots fired?
I saw maybe the first 2.
Tell me what you saw.
I'm not sure who he hit first, because it really happened really fast, so it was just like boom, boom, and it just kept going, you know what I'm saying?
Let me stop you. When Mr. Jackson started firing the weapon, where were Layla and Kamaya?
Layla was like kind of it's like a little grassy area next to the porch. And she was there and Kamaya was on the sidewalk right next to that.
Okay. So Layla and Kamaya were near each other?
Yes.
Did something happen with Layla before the shots were fired?
No, not that I can remember.
Was Layla moved out of the way?
At some point, I believe so, yes.
What do you mean?
I think that after he started shooting, that third kind of knocked her out of the way. Because when I got up after he stopped shooting, she was getting up off the ground.
Layla?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Jackson moved Layla out of the way.
Pardon me?
Mr. Jackson moved Layla out of the way?
No, third.
Third moved Layla
Yeah.
out of the way. Where was Kamaya
When? Exactly.
when the shooting started?
She was on the sidewalk next to, it's a little grassy area in between my porch and the neighbor's porch.
When the
And she
shooting,
was on this side, like on the sidewalk.
when the shooting started, you stated that you didn't see the order of the shots.
No, I did not.
Did you see Mr. Jackson leave?
No, I did not. By the time I looked back up, he was already gone.
And what had happened to Chelsea when the shooter left?
She was behind me and she was just screaming, oh my God, you know. And I turned around and I seen her shirt ripped open, and at first I didn't see that she was shot in the stomach. I just seen her leg, you know, but she kept saying my stomach, you know, my stomach is hurting, my stomach is hurting.
Where was third?
He was in between me and her.
Was there any injury to third?
The only injuries that I seen at that time was his chest and his leg.
What about Kamaya?
She was laying on the ground.
Did you note any injury to Kamaya? What kind of injury?
And there yet. Straight through her.
I'm sorry.
Through her eye.
Through her eye. Was she laying on the ground? What did you do with Chelsea?
I just asked her to lay down and lay on the porch so that I could hold, you know, just hold her there so she would, you know, move around a lot. And I just put my hand over her wound on her stomach so that she wouldn't not bleed out.
Could you hear third saying anything? What was he saying?
He just kept saying, my baby, you know. And then he was on the phone. And he said, you know, they shot my baby, money that be with shoes, money that be with shoes. And, you know, he just, that's all he kept saying, you know. He like, you know, they shot my baby.
Did you take Chelsea to the hospital? How did Chelsea get to the hospital?
My neighbor, she came down and one of my friends put her in the car and drove her to the hospital.
What about Kamaya?
The police had taken her already.
Did you see the police take Kamaya away?
Yes.
They carried her?
Yes.
What about third?
He was still sitting on the porch. So when I left.
And Chelsea, she's still alive today?
Yes.
Where were her injuries?
On her left leg, went and just under her knee and right above the knee, it came out and went through her stomach and came out her back.
Okay, when you say it, are you talking about bullets? Okay, so she was shot in the leg and directly in the stomach. And she was on the porch with third when that happened?
I believe so, yeah.
And Kamaya was down below in the grass?
Yes?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
You had been sitting on the porch for some time, right? How long would you say you'd been out there?
Probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
And besides you were visiting strictly with Mr. French, and you had the kids around you, right?
What do you mean, I was visiting? I lived there, I wasn't visiting, I was at home.
I said you were visiting with Mr. French.
Okay, yes.
Okay, just want to be clear. So Mr. French, what time did he get there?
He had already been there when I got home from work. So I don't know what time he got there that day.
Right, so you went home when he got there?
No, he was already there when I got home.
When, what time was it that you got there?
I probably didn't get home that day until maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And while you and Mr. French are on your porch and visiting, it's just the two of you conversing, correct?
No, I mean, the kids were out
Who
there.
else
We were
was
watching
conversing?
kids.
Who else was conversing with you?
Me and him were talking, but, the children were out there also.
All right. You weren't having conversations with other neighbors, were you?
No,
In fact, you didn't even know if any other neighbors were watching what you were doing, did you?
I noticed that there were two people from across the street that were sitting in the car.
Where were they? Approximately where were they?
In the car, sitting in the car, in front of the house, down by the tree.
Okay, but parked down away from where you're seated, right?
No, quite a ways, like I said, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Quite a ways?
Yes?
Yes.
Would that be to the right or to the left of where you were?
That would be to the right.
And they were under a tree, correct?
Correct.
They wouldn't have been parked directly in front of your place so that they couldn't have...
Not directly in front of, no.
Were you looking at their backs, or were you looking at their faces if you were sitting on the porch from where you were at?
I would have been looking at their backs.
At their backs? So they had their backs to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, a car drove by. Did you notice a car drove by?
Yes.
And French seemed to know who was in the car, correct?
Correct.
You did not, right?
No.
And a period of time passes by after that car drives by, correct?
Not much, but yeah.
Okay, how much time?
I would say maybe 5 minutes.
And within 5 minutes, somebody approaches your porch?
Correct.
And the person that approaches your porch is, what's he wearing?
I noticed the glasses. I think he maybe had on a white shirt, maybe tan shorts or something like that.
And the glasses were dark lensed, correct?
They were kind of like start off dark and they get lighter as they go down.
You couldn't see a person's eyes, could you?
No.
And you didn't know this person, did you?
No, not by name.
And in fact, at some point in time later, you were shown some photographs, right?
Correct.
You were unable to pick that person out of the
Without
photographs.
the glasses, that's correct.
And this person came up to the porch, and French got off the porch, didn't he?
Yeah, he was standing in the grass by
So-
the side.
You know, the distance between you and I is, what, probably 8, 9 feet? 10 feet? And if I'm correct, French would have gotten off the porch, walked several feet in front of it, correct?
Correct.
And that would have put his daughter behind him, correct?
More
Come here a
on
little
the
bit.
side of,
On the side of it.
yeah.
right? And you're not sure, all you know is he pulled a gun out.
Yes,
Where did he pull the gun from?
Pardon me?
Where did he pull the gun from?
I'm gonna say out of his back, like out of his pants, you know what I'm saying? Not in the pocket, just pulled it out, like here.
Indicating for the record, the witness is using her right hand to touch her right hip up in the base, in the waistband area.
Are you sure about that, or are you guessing?
I'm sure.
Does the guy with the glasses on say anything to Ken?
No,
You hear no conversation between the two of them?
no,
You know that Mr. French, in fact, that's Ken, right?
correct,
Also known as Third, right?
correct.
Third, you heard him say something, do you not?
Yes, he did.
And it appeared to be friendly, correct?
Yes.
So, let me see, you had asked your daughter to go into the house and get some shoes, correct?
Yes.
And your daughter, in fact, responded to your request, got up, walked into the house, obtained some shoes, right?
Correct.
And as she's coming out with the shoes, if I understand this correctly, that's when Mr. French is getting off of the porch and walking towards the individual that's with the glasses on, correct?
No, that's wrong.
Okay.
He was walking down off the porch, but he was walking toward the street. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. French was walking towards
Yeah.
the street.
But the guy
Okay.
was coming up as he was, you know what I'm saying? So he kind of was like, oh, you know,
And-
looked over and seen him.
Did you see where this guy with the glasses had come from?
No, I did not.
Okay, you weren't paying any attention to him,
No,
were you?
because I was trying to get my daughter to come over to me so that I could put her shoes on.
And were you, in fact, in the process of attempting to put shoes on your daughter when the shots started?
Yes.
So you didn't see the first shot?
No, I did not.
You didn't s-
No, I did not.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Ann. Good afternoon, Ms. Holt. Ms. Holt, I'm going to ask you some questions. Now, if at any point in time you don't understand the question, please stop me and I'll try to put it in a way that you do understand, okay?
Okay.
And if you answer the question, I'm going to assume you understood it, okay?
Okay.
And if you feel like you need a break, and it's a hard thing for I know to go through, please let me know and we'll address the judge and see what we can do to accommodate you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, this person that came up and produced the gun, as you're sitting on the porch, okay, facing the street, which direction that person come from, the left or the right, as you were looking out towards the street?
He was coming from the right.
From the right, okay. And that vehicle that you said that there saw a couple neighbors sitting in, was that vehicle parked to the left or to the right as you were looking out?
To the right.
Okay. And they are pulled, how many, was it in the next house over, or how many houses over was that vehicle, if you could?
It actually is parked in, like, in between, like, 1 and 2 houses over. So, like, it's a house here and a house there. The tree is in between those two houses down by the street. You know?
Okay, so like between the house that's immediately next to where he is and the house next to that. Is that fair? And this park legally is facing away from you?
Yes.
Okay, and there's a nice big shade tree there, or some sort of a shade tree,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And how long had you been home at that point in time?
I'm gonna say 2.5, maybe 3 hours.
Okay. And how long had you been out on the porch?
About an hour,
Okay.
maybe.
And you said that Mr. French was there when you arrived home from work?
Correct.
Okay. And were you kind of tired when you got home from work?
I mean, not really.
Okay. Now, did you see where the person, in what direction the person who shot, what direction they left in?
No, I did not.
Okay. And that's because you were minding to your daughter, is that correct?
Yes.
And it may seem like a silly question, just like saying, you never had anything like this happen before, is that correct? Okay. Or even remotely like this?
No.
Okay. And your daughter was taken to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And is she doing good?
Yes,
now?
she is.
Good. I have no further questions.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Ford, thank you so much, Mr.
Last witness, Judge, we call Kenneth French.
Judge, will we approach again?
Swear, Mr. French, I'm going to make sure you're comfortable, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Howell, Officer Bennett, can you approach? All right, we're going to take just a short break, Mr. French, just stay where you are.
All right. Be seated, please.
It's hard sitting in here. Just stay calm.